Hello, and welcome to DUSA Advocacy's Academic Progress Information Session. If you've received a proposal to exclude from your faculty committee, this session is for you. We hope you'll find it helpful. Receiving a proposal to exclude you from your course can be stressful. You may have already been going through a rough trimester before getting this letter. However, the DUSA advocates are here to help you through each step of this process. You don't have to do it alone. During this information session, we'll cover how the advocates can assist you. We'll go through a case study which will show how you might respond to the proposal letter you've received. We'll share some common issues students face and how to get support in improving your academic progress. We'll provide details around the written submission and review meeting processes, and we'll provide an overview of the next steps. First off, it's important to note that this letter you've received from your faculty committee is a proposal. The committee does not make a decision until they've given you the opportunity to send them a written submission and you've had the opportunity to talk with them at a review meeting. If you do not respond to the proposal letter, your faculty committee will apply the exclusion. So it's really important to reply by the date stated in the proposal letter. They want to hear from you. Advocates can assist you through this process. We can review your written submission and provide you with feedback. We can assist you to access relevant resources and supports to improve your academic progress moving forward. We can support you at the review meeting, and we can assist you to understand the outcome you receive from the committee and any further steps following from that outcome. So you can understand a bit more about the exclusion proposal process, let's meet Harry. He's enrolled in a Bachelor of Commerce at Deakin. He's in his second year. Harry received an exclusion proposal letter after failing all his units last trimester, and he contacted DUSA Advocacy for support. This is the proposal to exclude letter that Harry received. It's likely that the letter you received looks like this too. As you can see, Harry received this proposal because he failed 50% or more of his enrolled credit points in the last 2 active study periods, and because he hadn't met the conditions that were placed on his enrolment during a previous study period. Your letter will also state the particular reasons for the proposal. There may be several reasons listed in your letter. You'll see that Harry has been given 2 options, and you will have been given these options too. The first option is to accept the exclusion. So if now's not the right time for you to be studying, that could be a reason for accepting it. Or you can apply for an academic progress review. That means you get the chance to explain the circumstances that have been impacting on your studies and the actions that you've taken or plan to take to address those circumstances and the factors. Please also take note of the date your reply to the committee is due. We'll talk more about what you will need to include in your reply shortly. Another important component of your letter to take note of is the date or date range indicated for the review meeting. Your faculty will confirm the specifics of the meeting, the day, the time, the Zoom details, closer to the time of the meeting. If there's anything in the letter you've received that you're not sure about or you find confusing, feel free to ask your DUSA advocate. We'll now watch a video where you'll meet Harry and hear more about what he did when he received his letter.
I recently received an academic progress letter from my faculty, and never having received one before, I asked a DUSA advocate for advice on how to respond to it. I explained that I'm studying a Bachelor of Commerce and that I'm at the end of my second year. In my first year, I was diligent in attending classes and engaged in my studies and had a credit average. During my second year, I became unwell and this impacted my ability to study. During the last trimester, I was hospitalised and was unable to complete my final exams. I didn't communicate with my unit chairs and I ended up failing all of my units. Soon I was sent an academic progress proposal email from my faculty that said I was going to be excluded from my course. I attended a group appointment with other students in the same position as me, which was led by the DUSA advocate. She went over the process with the group and then we spoke one-on-one after the session. I told her of my personal circumstances and the problems I faced during the preceding trimester. She referred me to the different deacon support services that could help me and gave me advice about the documentation I could gather to support my written submission. I drafted my response letter based on a template provided by the Student Advocacy and Support Service and then emailed it to the advocate to review. She made some helpful suggestions and sent it back for me to finalise. I then filled in the faculty reply form and attached my written submission and supporting documentation. The faculty responded to me with the review meeting details and instructions on how it would run, who would be there, and who I could bring to help support my case.
Sometimes it will be very clear what impacted your studies. For other students, this may emerge through discussion with an advocate or through reflection. For Harry, as he identified, he was unwell and was hospitalised around the time of his exams, and the illness caused Harry to fail his units. We know that university study can be challenging and students are often juggling multiple demands in their lives. We encourage you to reflect on what issues have been impacting on your studies. Some possible challenges and impacts could include health, both physical health and mental health, work commitments, family issues, financial concerns, or academic issues. It could be a combination of these. In your written submission to the committee, you will need to describe which issues contributed to you failing units. If your studies have been impacted by COVID-19, it's important to be specific in your written submission about how your studies have been impacted. Some students, for instance, have experienced significant financial hardship and loss of work. Other students have had to homeschool or support family members. This has been a very challenging time for everyone, and it may have impacted on your mental health and well-being. In your written submission, make sure you clearly explain the specific impact that COVID-19 has had on your academic performance and also outline your strategies moving forward if there is continued uncertainty. As Harry mentioned in the video, he was unwell last trimester. In regards to deacon support services that are there for Harry, he could seek ongoing support from the medical centre to help in his recovery. If the issue was ongoing, Harry could register with the Disability Resource Centre, DRC, to develop an access plan that will make reasonable adjustments to support his studies. In terms of the academic side to Harry's challenges over the last 2 trimesters, he could seek support from a writing mentor or a language and learning advisor. The university has lots of support services available to help you. If you need help in accessing these services, or if you're not sure which service is right for you, please ask your advocate. We can email you links to these services too. To recap, we've spoken about issues that impacted Harry's studies, and we've also spoken about some of the services available at Deakin that you can access. Let's now focus on supporting documents. It's important to provide evidence or supporting documentation about the issues that have previously impacted on your studies and the actions you're taking to improve your progress. For example, if you've been experiencing a physical or mental health issue, It's helpful to provide a letter from your doctor or other treating health professional to demonstrate that you've been impacted by this issue and that you're accessing support to manage the issue. We encourage you to reach out to your unit chairs for feedback regarding any units you were unable to pass last trimester. You can ask for feedback on exams during this time as well. As evidence of reaching out for that feedback, you can take screenshots of the emails you send to your unit chairs and then include those screenshots as part of your written submission to the committee. You could also do this for units where you are taking them for a second time this trimester. You could contact your current unit chairs to discuss the best study strategies for the unit. Your DUSA advocate can provide advice on supporting documents that may be relevant for you to gather in your individual circumstances. Some supporting documentation that all students can gather is the Deakin Trimester and Weekly Planner. You can find this on Deakin's Study Support webpage, or you can ask your DUSA advocate to email you the link to it. If you use this planner, fill in the relevant details that are helpful to you for this trimester, and then include a copy of the filled in planners as part of your written submission to the committee. If you do this, make sure you show in your planner that you are dedicating at least 10 hours to each unit each week. Some disciplines or courses will require you to dedicate even more hours than this. It's good to also include an updated course map as part of your written submission. You can contact the student advisors through Student Central and ask for a copy of your current course map and discuss any changes that are needed to the course map. We encourage you to be realistic about how many units you are able to study each trimester. In some instances, it might make sense to consider reducing your study load. This can form part of your plan for success this trimester and what you present to the committee. Back to Harry now. After his advocacy appointment, Harry wrote this draft written submission and emailed it to his advocate to review. Take a moment to read this. You might like to pause the recording. So Harry could improve this first draft of his written submission. He could provide some more detail related to his medical issue and hospitalisation and how it affected his academic performance at the time he failed units. Whilst Harry has identified strategies here in this first draft, the strategies that he'll put in place for improving his grades, he could go into more detail as to what those strategies are. He also needs to include details about the Deakin staff and support services he's connecting with to make this a stronger written submission. So, an advocate provided Harry with feedback, and this is Harry's updated written submission. You could pause and have a read if you like. Let's look at what's better about this version. Well, firstly, it's now in the format of a formal letter. He's included details about the prior condition and how he wasn't able to meet the condition on his enrolment. Then in the second paragraph, he details what happened and how his studies were impacted and the timing of all of that. And in the third paragraph, he provides a lot more detail about the staff he has connected with, the supports he now has in place, the actions he's taken. As attachments to this letter, Harry's going to submit weekly and trimester planners he's filled in, a booking confirmation with the DRC, Disability Resource Centre, which is relevant in his circumstance, email correspondence with his current unit chairs, a support letter from a language and learning advisor, and an updated course map or plan showing his reduced study load for the next trimester. The DUSA advocates have a written submission template that you can use to write your own letter. Your letter will look different to Harry's, will have different information. You may have already received a link to the written submission template in one of the advocates' emails to you, but if not, please just email us and ask us for that link. You may be wondering what happens at a review meeting. Well, this is the process. Once you've submitted your reply form to the faculty committee, you'll be given a Zoom link by the secretary. Please make sure that you email this link to your advocate. In the review meeting, before the review meeting, you'll click on the Zoom link, and when the committee's ready, they will let you and your advocate into the meeting. The chairperson will introduce themselves and explain the process of the meeting, and they'll lead the discussion. Your advocate can support you to answer the committee's questions if you'd like that. The committee will then, once they've heard from you and your advocate and have all the information they need, and once you've had the chance to tell them everything you wanted to, they will then remove you and your advocate from the meeting while they deliberate on what the outcome will be. Then they'll invite you and your advocate back into the Zoom meeting, and you may be provided with a verbal outcome on the day. In relation to Harry, on the day of his review meeting, he was feeling quite nervous and hadn't had much sleep. The committee asked him how he had been going in the units he was studying this trimester and whether he had submitted any assessments or received any results. Due to his nerves, he found it difficult to answer, and the advocate was able to provide prompts around this information and the support services Harry had accessed to help Harry speak. If you arrange to have an advocate attend your review meeting with you as your support person, your advocate can jump in if you forget something or can prompt you to share the information that you're wanting to share with the committee. Your advocate will only share positive information in support of you continuing in your course. Please also note that there are occasions where students may not receive the outcome from the committee on the day of the review meeting. The committee secretary will email you the formal outcome letter within 5 working days of the meeting. Okay, we'll now watch a video where you'll meet Harry again and hear more about what to expect at the review meeting.
Once you receive the review meeting details, you can let the DUSA advocate know and, if you wish, ask them to accompany you. The advocate will arrange to meet or phone you to prepare for the meeting together. At the review meeting, there will be a panel of Deakin staff members that make up the Academic Progress Committee. Usually, there's a chair who runs the meeting, as well as a secretary who takes notes and 1 or 2 academic staff members. A review meeting usually goes for around 20 minutes, but this varies. After the committee members introduce themselves, they'll ask you some questions. Often, one of the first questions they ask is whether you have anything further to add to the information you provided in your written submission, or if you'd like to summarise your case. At my review meeting, I focused on the key points I wrote in my submission, and I talked about the strategies and supports I now have in place, so that if permitted to continue, I will be successful in my studies. During the review meeting, the committee asked me some questions, such as if I had already contacted my unit chairs for this trimester and whether I had completed any assessments. Once the committee have all the information they require, they ask you and the advocate to step out of the room or move to a waiting room if the meeting is being held via Zoom. They'll then discuss your case and decide the outcome. You and the advocate are then brought back into the committee room where they'll tell you the outcome. And they'll also email you the outcome within 5 working days. If the committee needs further time to deliberate on the decision, they won't provide the outcome on the day and will send it to you via email within 5 working days. For some students, the outcome is exclusion from their course. If this happens to you, you can talk to a DUSA advocate about other options that may be available to you. The committee allowed me to continue in my course because I had demonstrated evidence of putting strategies in place to be successful in my studies. They placed a condition on my enrolment, which means that I have to pass a certain number of my units. I plan to follow the recommendations provided by the committee and my advocate, and I'm certain that I'll be successful this trimester.
There we go. Although Harry was not excluded, there are times when students may be excluded as a result and outcome of the review meeting. If you are excluded, you'll be excluded from your course for 1 year, and you'll be advised of your right to appeal that decision via the University Appeals Committee. If you want to return to your course after the 1 year exclusion, you'll need to apply for readmission. If you're excluded from your course, we strongly encourage you to discuss your options with a DUSA advocate. We can support you through that time, and in particular, we can assist you with the appeal process or with your readmission after exclusion application. Most students are not excluded if they put together a good written submission with appropriate supporting documents. If you're not excluded, it's very likely that a condition will instead be placed on your enrolment. This may require you to pass certain units or to reduce your study load, or it may specify which units you need to take at what time. So what's next? This is the process we recommend you follow now. Firstly, draft your letter and start collecting supporting documentation. Then email your draft letter and supporting documents, a copy of the proposal to exclude that you received, and a copy of your academic results to your advocate. Your advocate will then give feedback to you within 1 or 2 working days via email. Next, and once you're happy with your written submission, you complete the reply form to the faculty, and this needs to happen by the due date. Indicate on the form if a DUSA advocate will attend your meeting with you, and attach your written submission, including your letter and supporting documents. Then, once you hear back from the faculty committee about when the meeting's going to be and the details of that meeting, please email your advocate the time, date, and Zoom meetings of your review meeting so they can make arrangements to attend with you. What happens now? If you have questions or you'd like a DUSA advocate to review your draft written submission, please reply to the email from your advocate so we can provide you with personalised assistance. Thanks for listening.